action to
Wow.
help us, So,
That's
yeah.
that's great. Go ahead and get started. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the November Elizabethton City Schools Board meeting. Can't believe it's November. I don't know anybody else, but my husband and I had a discussion. I thought Thanksgiving was in 2 more weeks, and I had to admit I was wrong. So for those of you who know me, that was painful. So anyway, Thanksgiving's next week, which means you guys get a little break coming up, so no one's excited about that, I'm sure. Teachers, students, yes? Yay! There you Well, anyway, we're glad you guys are here. If everyone would please rise, and Dr. Gardner is going to lead us to the pledge of the flag and a moment of silence.
Let's bow our heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item on the agenda is time for citizens to speak in accordance with Board Policy 1.404. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come forward, state your name and your address. I believe Ms. Foster has requested to be heard tonight.
My name is Meg Foster. I reside at 232 Old Mill Road, Elk Park, North Carolina. Good evening, Dr. Garnower and members of the board. Thank you so much for allowing me time to speak. Yesterday, fellow Elizabethton High School teachers and I went into what is now known as Old Band Room and finally saw it without all the shelving, instruments, and chairs. We were in awe. What we saw was an auditorium, a ready-to-use auditorium full of potential. We all stared at that spacious room and said, "What a shame." We never saw the beauty of that room until that moment. That is why I'm here before you, to attempt to preserve what could be an integral addition to Elizabethton High. I know that the plan is to make the former band room into 4 classrooms, and I absolutely understand the need for that. I spoke with Ms. Boer today and with Dr. Garnhauer over the summer about this same issue, and again understood the need. I implore you, however, to consider using any other means to attain those 4 classrooms. My only solution is there are teachers at Elizabethton High who are willing to wait for a classroom, give up their current one, or divide their room in order for the former band room to be used, because those teachers see what I see: a proper space to house guest speakers, professional development opportunities, special classroom speakers, community activities, and arts opportunities. It could also alleviate some of the burden that T.A. Duggar holds for its auditorium. I know my request is ill-timed at best, but as I said, I see the potential in that room and in that space, and it is too great not to fight for it. Thank you for your time, and I respect your decision regardless.
Thank you, Ms. Foster.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. It's time to recognize some of our athletic teams, and I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Gardner.
Okay, the first people recognize is our volleyball team, who had a historic season this year. We're so proud of them and everything that they were able to do this year, and we're almost there to state, and we sent them down to be able to see what that was like, what it's going to be getting there when they get there next year. So, Miss Bradley.
They asked, is this on? Yes. They asked if they had to come up, and I said, if I have to go up, you have to go up as well. So I won't make them talk. I'll take care of that part for us. I'm super proud of the group of girls that we've got standing here. It was a privilege to coach them throughout the season. Just quick introductions. We've got Chloe Hambrick, Sarah Slagle, Shelby Whitehead, Mackenzie Norwood, Rachel Robinson, Taylor Lowe, Madison Smith, Mary Beth Biggs, Michaela Thomas, Cassidy Ray, Sydney Goodsell, and my 2 assistant coaches, Donna Townsend and Patrick or Patricia Roberts. Sullivan South gave us that one. So we are missing Ricky Wagner, it looks like. So the rest of us were able to be here tonight. And as Coach Gardenauer, Dr. Gardenauer said, we did have a historic season this year, being the first team in school history to qualify for both the regional tournament and then the sectional tournament. And in both of those tournaments, we finished runner-up to Sullivan South, who ended up being the state champ. So that's about as well as you can do. And then in the sectional round, finished runner-up there as well to Knox Catholic, who lost to Sullivan South in the championship game. So according to my math, that makes us the 3rd best team in the state. So we'll take that. But definitely a great team. They worked hard all season long and really exemplified what team means, because they were willing to do whatever it took and give for each other for the success of the entire group. And so I'm proud to be standing here with them, proud of the accomplishments that we had this season.
Joey, you want a picture? Yep. Then I promise after we recognize cross-country team, I'll give everybody a chance to slip out if they want to. You look smart.
You did. All right. Okay, our next group this evening is our EHS cross-country team, and we had the pleasure of watching them compete, and it was a true show of cycling pride. So, Ms. Abel, if you want to bring everyone up and recognize them.
This is Charlotte.
Oh, cute.
She said she was coming. This is our varsity girls cross-country team. We are missing one person. We're missing Julia Schubert tonight. Unfortunately, she's at a doctor's appointment. These ladies make me more proud every day than a lot of other things I do. And I get to do some amazing things because I'm a teacher. But coaching it's a whole different level of love and fun and commitment. And these girls work hard. They're not scared of any workout I throw at them. They may whine a little bit, but they will do it, and they'll keep each other in check the whole time. There's no extra rest. There's no missed intervals. We're going to do the whole thing, and we're going to do it together. These girls finished this year. They were conference champs, which is 1 out of 7 in our conference. We're the Three Rivers Conference, and they had all 7 of them, with Julia, except for Ellie, they finished all conference. We had 7 girls in the top 15, which is, a little less than 50%, and it was amazing to watch them standing up there, to see the sea of orange, and to see them take home that conference championship and to do so with just no room to spare. I mean, there was no way anybody could have beat them. They ran so hard and so fast. And in regionals, we went in knowing we had a great chance to make the top 3 teams and to make it to the state championship for the 2nd year in a row. But we had this underlying suspicion that if we played every card right, that we could win. And so we set a really high goal. We said 4 in the top 10, and they did 4 in the top 9. So I can't ask for anything more. They've done everything I've asked them to do and then some. And they took home the regional championship as well. We've sent many girls cross-country teams to state throughout the history of this school, but this is the first time they've ever taken the regional championship. They finished, when we went to the state meet, they finished 5th overall. There's 25 teams in a state cross-country championship with some individuals as well. So to finish in the top 5 is amazing. I know that these girls, especially since all except for 2 are returning next year, will be back at that state meet next year, and I think we'll even be able to have some larger goals. I would like to say to Emily Schubert and Michaela Newman and Ellie Decker, our 3 seniors, that we love you guys and that we hope you have great success in college and whatever you decide to do, and we think that you've been a very important part of this team. I really appreciate you guys having us here tonight. Running sports, we don't always get a lot of recognition, but know we're here and we're working hard every day to make you guys proud. Girls varsity cross country.
Thank you.
Here, I'll go in the back so they can't see Charlotte's singing. Good? Does that work?
Yeah, Emily really needed to be on a higher role.
I know exactly how she feels.
I have no idea what she feels.
So do I.
All through school. All through school.
I've always wished.
All right, so everyone, you're welcome to stay, but if you don't, we understand. I'll give you a minute to leave if you want to.
Now I could find a parking space.
Yeah, now.
Yeah, we have to give somebody your keys.
Can I move my car back up?
Park around the corner.
I'm all the way down the
I'll
block.
drop you off. I'll take you to your car. Curbside pickup. Now, the rest of you are wondering why you don't have an excuse to leave, so thank you. All right, so it's time to approve the consent and regular agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? I do have one. We'd like to remove item number 7 from the consent agenda. It may appear later, but for now, we'd like to ask that we remove item number 7 from consent. Anybody have any questions?
Are you
or
moving
comments?
that over to the regular
We're just
agenda?
removing it off.
Just altogether removed?
Just removing it completely. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I have a suggestion for further meetings. Instead of killing so many trees, could we just get a listing of the approvals, like the disposals and the field trips, and not have a copy for each of us for each meeting? Can we just have one, maybe a folder that if we need to refer to, or if we have a question when we get the packet, just save everybody some time. And I don't see the need in getting a separate piece of paper for all disposals.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, if there's something we need to question, we can certainly have it here,
I
but
think that's a great idea.
just a thought.
I think the trees would appreciate it too.
I don't know if that takes a motion later on or just a.
Cool. Anybody else? So item on the floor is to approve the consent and regular agenda, removing item number 7 from consent. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving over. Superintendent report.
Okay. We've had a great month this month, and one of the best things that happened this month was the training that we went to this weekend. And really what came out of that for us was Rita and I had some time to sit down and talk about some of our strengths and weaknesses and as a board. And I'll be sending an email out to all of you about some of the things that we discussed there as some things that we need to do. But our initial plan was that some of the things we learned was, we need to be focused on our mission and vision, and we really need to be involved in that. And so what we've tried to set forth would be that we would look at our vision. We'll put that on for a discussion item next month. We'll look at our mission in January, and then we'll come back leading up to, it's been about a year since our 5-year plan was developed, and we want to make sure that we have our goals in that discussion of what we want to do as a board and how we want to operate for the next year. And so we'll be doing that over the next couple months. We have the calendar committee that will have representatives from all of our schools meeting tomorrow for our first meeting. We plan to bring you a teacher negotiated and administration approved program for the calendar, as we do every year, and we always have a lot of good discussion on that from our teachers and get their input on that when we make that. So that'll be coming later for your approval. We had our branding meeting, the very first one that we've had on looking at our brand and what we're about. And the two, we tried to come up with some keywords. Kayla Carter, who's our public relations director, and two teachers and I sat down, and we were looking at different ideas and trying to come up with what really constitutes what Elizabethton City Schools is about. And the two words we came up with this month were support and growth. That's really what our people do best. It's about our community, and we're going to be sharing with you a lot of our ideas about what our brand needs to look like and then what it means. And then we are going to have public forums for people to be a part of that process. So we want to make sure that if you want to be involved or the public wants to be involved, that they can, and we'll certainly be sending it to our teachers and other stakeholders on that. I think one thing I wanted to mention this month, I've been to a lot of different functions with our kids, and I've just not been more proud to be the superintendent of schools in Elizabethton than to follow our children around where they are doing what they're doing, going to visit them in the classroom, doing those types of things, to say we are very fortunate to have the children that we have. And they do a great job of representing this community. They're great ambassadors for us, as we saw all the children that were here this evening, what they're doing and how they're performing and the people they are. So I want to make sure we mention that. And tonight, I didn't forget, Mr. Hurley, that you were going to give us a little update about Eastside tonight. So we'll go ahead and we'll listen to that from you. Go ahead.
I can go first. Well, this is my first year being a principal, obviously. Dr. Gardenauer and other members thought that it was a good idea that Travis Hurley become a principal. So here I am. As many of you know, I took over for Dr. Wandale at Eastside. Not only literally are they big shoes to fill, but the foundation he laid for 8 years has made my job very pleasing. He laid the foundation. A good foundation makes everything strong. And for 8 years, he laid that with the staff that he brought in and the way he treated the kids. And I can say that he treated mine. I have 2 there, and they love him dearly. A lot of times I get asked, are you the real principal? They still want to know where Dr. Wandale is. But thanks for the opportunity to do that. Just some brief things. Last year, they were a level 5 school. I'm going to say we were. And obviously, the goal is to stay there this year, especially with the new testing. We're pushing and driving our students to be better and better and better. One thing that we are constantly doing is we are writing in every subject. I actually brought some examples for you guys to look at afterwards of 5th grade volume and how our kids explain how to work volume. it blew me away. My son was one of them. He comes and said, "Check this out, Dad." And it was like a whole essay on volume. I thought, wow, that's impressive, buddy. Not only that, we're pushing literacy harder than we've ever pushed it before. We want our kids to read and read and read. And it starts at a very young age, especially in Early Learning Center, learning those fundamentals. And Mr. Pless's staff does a great job of helping us lay that foundation. Not only that, we've actually had some really fun things we've got to do other than just schoolwork. We had our first annual flag football game against staff in 5th grade.
I heard there was some cheating at the beginning.
Maybe a little. Cheating is probably not a good word for that, Miss Rita.
Maybe
It's
you brought in
probably
some
stretching the rules a little bit.
I applaud the
We were
effort.
getting ready to play, and I called timeout, and we had the pep rally there, and I let the football team go on and run the first play against our kids. They fumbled the first snap. I thought, are you kidding me? So that kind of put us in the hole. The 5th grade did beat the staff. Every teacher did participate. It was a fun environment for all. I think every teacher had a blast. The parents that were there had a blast. It was just a cool environment to have as a community of Eastside. We actually had all the community was just coming in saying, "What's going on Eastside?" They was like, "Hey, come in and check it out." And we had everybody sign in, and they got to watch a cool environment. We had our musicals. Those were Miss May, Emily May did a great job there. We actually got to sing tonight for the first time at the tree lighting. Our 5th grade did. They were pretty pumped up about that. The one question I always get is, "Hey, Hurley, do you like your new job?" Because, as you know, I was a football coach with Sean for 8 seasons. And switching over to the elementary world, it kind of rattled my cage a little bit. But my answer is I absolutely love it. And here's why I love it. Because of the people and the students that I get to work with on a daily basis. I thought, how can I explain Eastside to people? And this is what I say. Come by and see us. Because when you walk into the building, you're going to see energy from our teachers because they bring it every day. You're going to see energy from our students, and it's contagious. If I had to say what was one slogan that we use all the time, I'd tell the students and the teachers, be contagious. If they are contagious about excitement and contagious about energy, everything else will fall in line. So if anytime you guys want to come, please come. Just buzz in. Miss Karen will let you in. Just make sure you say your name, or she won't, or I have to go to the door and say, "Who are you?" Please come by, see us, walk into classes. You will see what goes on at Eastside. And I think that is the best part, is that you can come see it and see what the students are doing and what the teachers are doing. So that's what I have tonight. So if you want to see these, I'll be here afterwards. I'll be right back there if you want to see the examples of 5th grade writing.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley. Mr. Pless?
Mr. Hurley, would you pass those? Can we pass those around?
'Cause
I
he
don't want to
doesn't-
listen. We don't want to listen to Mr. Pless anyhow. So give us
Mr.
some good
Fleming
reading.
doesn't pay
Give us some
attention
good
anyway.
reading.
That's the best thing you could have done.
No, we really do.
Oh, I'm sure. Hang on to every word. Thank you. And I do appreciate Mr. Hurley and Eastside when the decision was made about 3.5 years ago or 4 years ago to move to Eastside. You don't know how that's going to be. We've been in a standalone building for so long, but they certainly have welcomed us there, and we're very appreciative. It's a great place to be, and we're glad our pre-K is there. Just very briefly, again, we're part of the grant funded. You're hearing a lot about that in the news if you're paying close attention, and I'll share something about that here briefly. But we have 4 classrooms, maximum of 20, and we are full, and we've been full ever since I've come on board. I think it was several years before, so we are at capacity. We do have a wait list. We're a 4-year-old program, and we are a program that's designed primarily for students who have at-risk issues. So it begins with an income eligible proponent. It goes into wards of the state, children who've been abused, children who have parents in the military, any kind of factor that would present maybe an issue for a child being where they need to be when they come into public school at kindergartens, the design of this program. And it was designed, I think, primarily because what they had seen is these students coming into kindergarten were woefully behind, and some of them never caught up. So the pre-K design obviously was there to try to create some kind of equality for children that didn't have equal circumstances. So what I would tell you is when you read the papers and you hear the argument that students that are in pre-K, the people that want to stop funding, are because at the end of kindergarten they don't see a huge
there may be a little bit ahead, but they're not significantly ahead, and by the time they're in third grade, they can't see any difference between a pre-K kid and a kid that's been there, then it's done its job. Because before, they were woefully behind, so their argument for cutting funding, I think, is the argument for continuing pre-K. And I personally think because we've had the same budget every year that I've been here, so I think they cut it essentially sometimes by not adding funding to it, because we've tried to maintain the same program. So I'm very appreciate Mr. Hutchins and what he does with title funds, because he helps support 2 of our teachers. He pays for that through title funds, and we wouldn't be able to have our program if we didn't have input like that. We have 4 wonderfully different teachers who all kind of get to the same goal at the end through a very different way, and I like that. And our students benefit greatly. And so, again, thank you for your continued support of pre-K. And when you hear those arguments, we appreciate any argument against cutting funding or stopping funding from the state level for pre-K. I appreciate Governor Haslam the fact that we're going to go another year, but I do think the argument supports the value of pre-K more than it does not. So anyway, that's my spiel.
Eddie, what's our enrollment?
For the pre-K?
Yeah, pre-K enrollment.
We have 80. We have 80 spots, and we have 80 with a wait list. We also have a 3 through 5-year-old IDEA 619. It's a special ed classroom too.
Not included.
No, that's not in that. That's part of our regular school budget.
Right.
So this is just the grant funded is the 80 slots. So that's the maximum we can have.
Is it a per pupil budget from the state, or is it just a blanket amount that goes to each school system?
It's a blanket amount, and that was established before I came on. I just know that it's been the same, and I think it was the same 2 or 3 years before that I came. Essentially, used to we had full-time teacher, 2 full-time teacher assistants, and maybe part-time, and we're a full-time teacher and 2 part-time teacher assistants now to make that work. So, that's where we end up getting cut. We can't cut some of the other
So
things.
we get the same amount of money that
Yes.
Carter County gets?
Well, no. Well, I mean, proportionally, I think that's correct. But
Proportionally based upon
they have more.
The number of classrooms.
Yeah, the number of classrooms.
number of classrooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and of course, they have
Okay.
the grant funded, and they have Head Start also in their system, which are 2 separate things. So,
Thank you,
anything
Mr.
else?
Plus.
Thank you.
Dr. Gardner, anything else?
No, yes, thank you.
Ms. Perkins, you want to say anything about the convention that was memorable, or you learned a lot, or?
Well, first, I'd like to say thanks for allowing me to attend once again. A couple of the sessions that were especially good that I particularly like to go to, since it gives me an opportunity to hear something outside the realm of what I normally would be working in during the day. And one of those sessions, Ms. Boer and I both got to attend, and it covered how we are going to be, as a school system, looking forward and making sure that we address in a proper way, in a meaningful way, and in a helpful way any students who are experiencing any type of gender equity issues. And it was a very good session. We had another session that I attended, again, by a panel of attorneys presenting, address things that, as we look forward to renovating some of our older buildings, possibly, they were pointing out the new focus of the EPA. We've dealt with asbestos in the past, but they're focusing more on PCBs than they have been. So that would be another area, and I have some materials that I haven't given it to Mr. Van Hus to have to look at, but, that sort of thing. My board secretary's meeting was very good, and one of the nicest things that came out of one of the sessions in it was a way that Ms. Boer and I have talked about this in the past, and Mr. Cooter really is the one who started this idea, but we've never been able to figure out a way to financially make it feasible. And Lenore City has done a cost-effective way to be able to utilize electronic media without having to purchase a program to do that. It's more of an in-house thing, so that's something I'll look forward to discussing later, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. All in all, a good meeting. One of the things that I think that our board can be proud of, even though we don't have one ourselves, but this is the first year that a member of the Carter County School Board made level 5 as a board member, and that's a very significant achievement, and we're proud to say that you all are being able to share the same territory, so to speak, with them, somebody that close. So I think that's a wonderful thing too. Thank you.
One of the things that I appreciate about TSBA, you can go to their website and you can find PowerPoints on every workshop. And you guys know when we go to training, they follow, those PowerPoints. And there were some really good topics. I can't stress enough that maybe you might want to look over it and see what they had to say. Also, I served as a delegate on the delegate assembly, and this year I really enjoyed some of the stuff we voted on, and be happy to talk to you guys about that. But sometimes you vote on stuff that you just think, why bother? And these were some good ones. We were all excited to get to vote because it had a lot to do with some funding and some things like that. So be happy to share all that with you. But again, do go to the TSBA website and look at some of the workshops because they were really, really good. So anybody else want to say anything on board member reports before we move on? All right. Let's move over to the regular agenda. Okay.
Just a point of order,
Yes.
we've not done a personnel update.
Well, we weren't gonna do that anymore.
Okay, we're not reading it
No.
or anything. Okay, that's great with me, okay.
Were you wanting a nap?
No, that's fine. No, that's fine.
You
I'll
wanna
just,
save some more paper?
yes.
And you didn't bear back in your seat when you asked
I
me
just
that
didn't know
question.
if we had to approve it or anything. But
No, we did
that's
that a
great.
few months ago.
Okay. I slept.
You actually did when you approved the consent and
Okay.
regular agenda.
We don't have any say-so over employees anyway, except one, so that's just a report.
All right. First item on the agenda is approve reading of board policy 1.108 nepotism as proposed. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Changes are highlighted. Anybody have any questions or comments about this?
When I was looking at this, I got some policies from some other school districts, from Carter County and from Johnson City, and they're a little more detailed. There's a definition here of exactly what supervision is, and then there's one paragraph that Carter County uses that gives you a little wiggle room as far as if there's a situation where you can't avoid it. So you might want to take a look at these. I'll leave them. You can
Thank
have 'em.
you.
That one paragraph, it seems to me it would be good to add it in case there's a situation where you can't avoid it.
Are those older policies of theirs?
No, they're current.
They're current ones?
Mm-hmm. I remember that training we went to, they said in small towns, sometimes it was very difficult to avoid it.
That might be something to peek at.
Sure.
I was just looking at, it references county officials and county administrators. Does that not include city elected officials, or should it, or am I missing something?
Yeah, it should have city, I think. That's where city system. Good pickup.
Yeah. And since it's the first reading, we can go back and,
I mean, would that not be appropriate, you think?
Sure.
or-
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, in the county, I think the city should also be included.
I'm not sure why we even need to include county officials. They're not our funding body, they don't approve our funding.
They wouldn't be a conflict of interest for us.
It would not be, would it?
No.
You could just exchange the city and county officials.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone in our funding body would be the true effect.
I don't know if the wording is taken directly out of TCA.
It is.
I am assuming that that is why it's worded the way that it is, but I don't know that for a fact. I don't have the TCA in front of me.
Oh, you mean out of TCA's, not out of TSBA, you meant TCA, the law that it references. I could
Yes, that,
probably pull that up.
49-2.
since that's what's footnoted, I'm assuming that that's a verbatim
I'd say
reading.
you're right.
So we may need to have city and or county or,
Yeah, we might ought to work on this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Make sure we're
I'm certainly in favor of having wording in there for if we have to make an exception, but I certainly hope we have a clause in there too that, that would be a last resort.
It sort of says that in the language.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet.
It says, the director of schools may make modification to this policy in extenuating circumstances where there is only one viable candidate to fill the position due to qualifications, highly qualified status, curriculum certification, or a limited number of individuals applying for an open position. That's pretty broad.
Yeah, and that's also, I wouldn't want to I don't think that should be a director decision. I mean, I think that should come with a maybe a director's recommendation, but in case that were to be your wife, your child, that you should not be able to make that record. Well, you can make a recommendation, but you should not be able to make that higher.
That's, I agree totally with that. I think that if the director had, if my wife wanted to come and work in this system, I think the board would have to decide that that is allowable or not. And otherwise, though, the director makes a decision on the other employees.
I think
you're right.
I think you would word that as authorization.
Okay.
That the director of schools, we still don't hire. We're not allowed to hire by state statute. We must have it where you hire them, even if it's your wife, but you must seek authorization if it's.
Yeah.
Good point.
So I think the word would be, the board would authorize this, if it involves any of those things, and that would allow your exceptions to be made.
Okay. We can definitely
It
do some
says
work
gives
on this.
notice now, right now, but I think authorize allows it to be an action item, so you have some coverage if you do hire someone, and the claim is made. It went through a process, a due process. Was that 49-2-202? What's that law? That's
A and then 3.
all right. I'm in that A3. 49-2. It says no person shall be eligible to serve on the board.
Yeah.
Started to email you today.
Yeah.
So we'll work on this and it'll come back for a second reading.
We will, I guess.
Yeah.
Are you just going to vote it down on first reading?
Let's just table it. Can we do that?
It's it's
Do we
I
need a
think it'd
motion
be
to table it?
motion to move it to next month's agenda.
Okay.
Second.
All right. So item on the floor is that we will move item number 8 to next month. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, we'll make a note. All right, next item, approve first reading of Board Policy 1.400, school board meetings as proposed. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second.
There's a couple of things. One of them is we're looking at moving to the third Tuesday of each month instead of the Thursday. That seems to be working better with the schedule for this particular board. And then the paragraph above, talking about recording and things like that, that was included. You want to comment on that?
There obviously has been something happen across the state, an unsafe situation based on a way video information's been used. So I'd say that what they're trying to do is just make sure that school boards have a way to have an orderly meeting. And so they've added this paragraph. A lot of times, we do not see exactly what happens in these type of situations. They'll give us a little heads up on that, but something has happened for them to be able to do that.
TSBA referenced the Tennessee Attorney General's report. If you look at legal reference number 4, the bottom of that policy. My question, though, when I read this was in regards to television and news, authorized news agencies, if that would, it just says we may restrict them. It doesn't say we have to. And I think that in the past we've had the press arrive and want to record. We record our meetings anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, there's no sense in a person just observing, having a camera because we have that, but if you have the,
And this is my may and shall.
Yeah,
This
I
one
know.
says may. I'm happy with this one.
Uh-huh.
Shall I don't like.
that's why we changed your name one
Yes.
time to Dr. Shaw.
Dr. Shall.
I don't think we could use shall in this instance.
No.
I think we'd get challenged legally if we
I do
did.
too.
Can we do this with the media, though? Is that not a violation of sunshine law?
The
vi-
media is
the
present.
Sunshine Law deals with
It's us.
members of the
Not
board
recording.
meeting together, making
I guess that
decisions.
doesn't involve recording it, I bet.
And I think a lot of it would be if you're having a very contentious meeting and there's a lot of stuff and you got the media there and it's just kind of fueling it. If that were to interfere and we could not conduct a meeting because of their presence, I think maybe we could look into it. We've always allowed them to be here just because I feel like we work to be very transparent. And, if it was causing a problem, I think this would give us an option to ask them to leave. But
The rest of it says it gives restrictions as to when it can occur, and it's only when it creates a threat to public safety and welfare, or it impedes the conducting of an efficient and orderly meeting. So if someone is being unruly with their recording, maybe we're not talking about WJHL sitting there with their camera. We're talking about somebody misbehaving and doing it in a manner that's creating it.
I don't think this is
Inability to
addressing the
proceed.
media. They're not usually a threat to public safety.
No, usually
This is
protecting it.
other instances, I would think.
I would think, but we got to make sure we get it right in the policy. I think the policy's fine the way it is.
so you're happy there's a may?
I'm happy that it says we may do it, and that it gives the reasons why we may do it.
Yep, I think so too. Any other questions or comments? Everybody feeling okay? All right, item on the floor is to approve first reading of Board Policy 1.00, school board meetings as proposed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item, approve first reading of Board Policy 1.704, charter schools as proposed. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
This one's a housekeeping item on language. I know that they explained it a little further in the paragraph that they gave this on it, but the agreement is known as the charter agreement. So, and it's assigned by a sponsor of the board.
Do we have anyone who's applied?
We
Is
have
that what
not.
prompted this?
We
No,
have
it's a
not
state.
had
Is this a
anyone.
new policy?
It's in the back when they talk about from TSBA, the
It's a
stuff.
Okay.
TSBA
This is the
review.
housekeeping.
Yeah,
It's a shall, Dr. May.
it's a shall.
So this is Tennessee policy, that
Yes.
this review team monitors the charter school progress? That's Tennessee school policy?
Yes, there's many charter schools
Okay.
in Tennessee, especially in the larger cities.
Because usually in other states, I mean, I was taught in a public charter school in Massachusetts. There was a state board that came and evaluated us, excuse me, every year.
But the only change is page 3.
Yeah,
Correct.
there's only
Yes, sir.
two. The review team.
That's it. Any other questions or comments? All right, item on the floor, approve first reading of Board Policy 1.704, charter schools as proposed. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve on first reading Board Policy 3.500, Food Service Management as revised. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
This is just a housekeeping item as well. They're taking out the non-discrimination policy. If you go over about 2 pages past, they have a new, what will replace that with the updated language that they want in there. So that's what we'll be doing.
Do you have any questions or comments on that? Item on the floor, approve on first reading Board Policy 3.500, Food Service Management as revised. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next three policies are up for review, items 12, 13, and 14. Was there anything about any of those that anybody wanted to discuss?
On graduation requirements, I'd like to discuss that we add some community service as a graduation requirement, and that maybe the definitions of what hours of community service should involve. I think a lot of schools have done that in our region even, and I think it's something that we're remiss in not providing. Our kids are not getting the opportunity to serve.
Okay, what's your thought on that?
I think maybe we set a number of hours and we can leave it very open-ended and put the director of schools may allow for a requirement of hours as deemed appropriate as a graduation requirement. And we can, if we want to set how many it is and want to talk about it, we probably all have to think it through. I think Science Hill uses like 50 hours or maybe 100 hours. I think it's 50. You know, and I think we have to decide what is considered an appropriate community service. You know, and it may be something for the government, for the state, or for our local town. I'd love to hear what our teachers in the room have to say, and perhaps it's even could be appropriate if it's through their faith-based organizations, or if it's anything that they would normally do outside of school that would help them to be a better citizen. And this goes to our mission and vision, where we're trying to help them be college and career ready, but also I think it's our responsibility to try to help them be upstanding members of our community and become good citizens one day. And that's kind of part of that, I think, that we leave out, is that there's not a community service requirement in our system.
We'll definitely look at that.
Yeah, so the only problem and it's not a problem, but who monitors that? That's who keeps up with is that a homeroom teacher? Is it counseling? I was getting ready to say something about counselors anyhow on the grading policy, but.
I would think maybe the guidance department could be over that.
I guess that's what I'm saying. They seem to be overwhelmed in a lot of schools anyhow with testing requirements. But I think it's a great idea, and we can work out nuts and bolts.
Any of you all in the galley would like to speak? Yeah. What do you think?
In regard to Tennessee Promise, I'm sure you've seen the articles where students aren't meeting up their requirements. It's a new program for them, and they don't understand the community service aspect is one of the areas where they fail the most. I think it would benefit them to already have that in as a requirement, so that would already be something they could tick off on that Tennessee Promise list. I think it's a great idea. Ms. LaFaw and I just started a new service program, and we love that. Be a boost for us too, so it's a bonus. But I do think it'd be very beneficial.
Do students, do students have a home base that they report to on a regular basis?
I mean, first period is sometimes considered homeroom, so there's.
So that's not
there's
necessarily
that.
all seniors then. You may have a
Right.
class. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I would let them figure out a way to do it. Just we would require that it happens, and then if you have a form that has to be completed or signed, it may be by their minister, it may be by their, if they volunteer for the city. I don't know that we would be overly strict. I think the goal would be to give them an opportunity and a reason to do it.
Something they care about.
Yeah, and it can be something that they have a passion for, but the point on my end is to teach them to serve, to teach them how much service means to their life as they go on beyond here. And
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea, but I think we need to be careful how we enforce it and how we, like you say, monitor it and make sure it doesn't put additional workload on someone. But we don't want it to be anything to deter someone from graduating.
our highest performing students, though, are always involved in extracurricular activities, and maybe that's part of the waiver, but I think service is different than athletics, and it's different than based
But you know, one of the
things.
things that we could look at is with your clubs and organizations, even sporting teams, they could do some
Yeah.
things and a way, especially because maybe some kids don't have a way to get places, but there's things that they can, I think it would change the whole way you look at things, and everything would be, where's the opportunity to go serve, and you know, like for sports teams, they could go to the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, you know, it's a really cool thing to think about, and we talk about with our teachers that we talk about servant leadership. We talk about that all the time. Just trickle it down and make it be, you know, just a part of who we are. And I think it'd be interesting to see what other schools are doing. I think it's definitely something we need to talk about. The fact that teachers are excited about it, because the more you're doing for other people, the less you're worried about yourself, and it's a healthy thing. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Anybody else want to, any of the other ones, the grading system?
Yeah.
I had a question about number 13, the grading system. Do all three of the elementary schools have the same report card?
Do all three have the same report card, right?
They do.
We bring changes to you all. We'll put that on the consent agenda
Okay.
anytime that we do that. Now, we do have discussions, and we're having one right now on conduct. That's one of the
Okay.
key areas that we've been working on, trying to make sure that we have consistency there. And it's not only consistency with the grading scale, that's the kind of the minimum requirement, you know. It's what are our teachers doing, and making sure that we have common sense approach to that. And so that's something we've been discussing.
I also had just a couple of comments or questions. Do we continue conduct grades? I
Do
know
we
it's
continue-
referenced here.
Mr. Little, at the middle school, conduct grades are not there, and the high school not there.
Man, I could have used those. I got in
So,
trouble for
I'm
talking
just
all
wondering
the
if,
time.
we should get something in there. I think the point is you don't use conduct for an academic grade, and I agree totally.
Right.
But, I don't know, the wording of that one bothered me just a little bit.
Okay.
And then we have something about Hope Scholars we say the elementary school counselors should explain. Should we not include middle school counselors as well?
Sure.
For kids that move in, and that we've covered basis on that.
Well, you can do that.
And then on graduation requirement, is it necessary to have the statement about 2009, 2010 anymore?
That was put in there as a reference or a baseline year when
I didn't know
we
if it's
changed the
necessary
requirement.
in policy to
They-
have that.
We kind of did that when we did the last time that we did an upgrade to it, so we could look
But
back
since
and.
that's all in 2009, 2010, this year's seniors,
Yeah, and
it's just a.
we've talked a little bit about graduation requirements, you know, as they are, you know, where number of credits. We've met on that this earlier when we started school to see where we felt that we needed to be, and that's something we're continuing to discuss, knowing that our system that we currently have at the State Department to count graduation rate is it's a very confusing process with two different databases and holes and issues there. So we're trying to make sure that we have coverage there, and also make sure that getting a high school diploma at Elizabethton is it's a challenge. And so
Also, another thing on graduation requirement, and I'm probably opening up a can of worms, but would we ever want to address as a board the 3-year graduation?
well, you know, it's meaning what? What with your 3-year graduation? I mean, what's your thought on that?
My personal thought is it's not a good idea with it
Because-
just being a blanket open end. You can graduate in 3 years. I mean, if you meet, I think there needs to be a counseling process, that the student declares that they're going to graduate in 3 years at an early time. I guess I just see a lot of students. Well, I don't have any data to back that up, but I've known of a lot of students from here that have graduated in 3 years.
There's some things fighting us on that too. I mean, there's a couple things we've tried to do to keep students here, and the whole push from the state, and purely from a funding standpoint, it's to our benefit to have students here as long as we can. And so, that's not the only reason, but we've tried to add dual enrollment courses to where students can have the benefit of going to college and still have the same opportunities here that we could provide for them to do that.
And I'm not saying there's not students that aren't mature and ready. I mean, but
I'm with you.
To me, there's some maturity that a 16-year-old doesn't have to go to college.
And I'm with you on that, and that's part of what we've talked about upping the graduation requirement. But we have to make sure that we have something that's doable. In the same right. It's right now we have 36 chances. We do not know, with the way the state's doing the testing and that type of thing, if we're going to be able to continue on the block schedule like we are now and have as many opportunities, and that'd be another conversation down the road. And it's about the number of opportunities and then the number of credits we feel children get. Right now we're at 28, and our discussion earlier is, could we make that 30, and still have 6 chances if did not pass a course, they would still have 6 chances. That would total 36.
I know other systems have gone to like a policy of 3 less than maximum potential.
Right.
3 credits less than whatever your potential is.
Right.
In 4 years, then it kind of takes care of itself. And if you've got a
It
child
does.
that transfers in from a school that's on a different schedule, a different state, then
Has enough to we can.
they can,
Right.
you've got a policy that you can interpret with instead of handing it to a counselor and have them to
Well,
interpret.
we can definitely have that discussion. I think that's important for our direction and what we're going to do. The state is constantly changing their views and
Right.
points on that. I think we're finally in a point, though, after hearing Commissioner McQueen talk, we're finally in a place where I think that we're going to have some stability for right now, whatever that it means to you. But stability for right now.
Is that a quote?
She has a plan anyway.
Makes a lot of
So
sense.
we just need to discuss that. The minimum credits is still going to be 22. I do not think that will change. Mr. Plus may correct me on that. There's not a emphasis to go ahead and change from 22 to 24. I haven't seen anything on that. So
I think they have maxed out there for a 6-period schedule.
right.
You're under what? Well, it's all about we'd be under that 3-year too,
Yeah.
which is part of the reason it pushed some of our changes in the high school over the last few years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a discussion we need to have.
Okay.
Okay. And we could do no. What we need to do is try to get our information together and have a work session if we really want to look at what we're doing and try to get as much information as we can so we can make a decision on what's best. I'm with you, on that. I think, there's a lot of, we've talked about a lot of other issues going with that, where our
That could be
students
just a
are.
whole session and talk
Sure.
about the community service and just kind of everything.
Can we
Yeah.
pull that one out? Graduation requirements out
Yeah.
and leave the other 2 in. Was there anything in
It was
grading
just reviews.
you wanted to change? You were okay with
No,
that?
I just, I didn't know whether all 3 of the elementary schools had the same report card. I think it's
Oh.
important that they do.
Yeah, but if they do, then let's leave that one alone, and then let's postpone the discussion of graduation to a workshop.
I mean, we're just reviewing these, so, yeah, these are just
Make that as a
reviews.
motion.
These are not,
We're just
these aren't for
reviewing.
I was
vote.
just reviewing.
This,
okay,
you're
yeah,
just
okay.
reviewing
Yeah.
them. There's no vote on these.
All right, okay, yeah, let's put
So
those in
that's
a
what you're
workshop.
doing now, is just
All
having
right.
the opportunity to discuss which way
Yeah.
you want to go forward.
Yeah, this is really helpful because I don't know, in the whole time I've been on the board, I don't think we've ever had a workshop on this, and I think this would be a really intriguing thing to talk about, especially get the teachers involved and everybody. That's going to be, yeah.
Sorry, Ms. Boer, I had one other comment, and that's on the staff schedules.
Well, I would be disappointed if you didn't.
Sorry.
Yep.
But should we actually specify 2.5 hours each week, the minimum, or should we specify a daily? Because if we've got a Thanksgiving break, you've got a break when you're out of school for snow, do you have a teacher to take you to task and say, I want my 2.5 hours? It's just semantics, I know, but
Yeah, I mean, that's not something I thought of. I think the 2.5 hours per week of planning time for a teacher, we exceed that.
I'm sure.
At this point, but that is definitely something we can look at.
Well, I interpreted that as during the school day. They get a planning period
Sure.
during the school day. I do know that, a lot of teachers, they're supposed to get that planning time, but they don't get it anymore because they spend so much time on the computer and doing other things rather than planning their lessons. Because the day goes so fast. So it's a tough one, but I think we need to specify it to know it's there.
So instead of saying per week, you're saying it's
Like
2.5
allotment
hours
per day.
each
yeah,
week,
minimum
saying per day.
Minimum per day.
Okay,
I
We're
mean,
just saying
2.5 hours is 30 minutes a day.
30, yeah.
Yeah,
So we
minimum
say
of 30 minutes a
30
day.
minutes per day.
And we're going to exceed that,
That's
but
smart.
that's your minimum.
And I had not thought about that way.
Usually that's their special, when the kids have music or art or things like that. That's,
In a classroom where somebody else is using their classroom, then they can't think.
that's right.
They need a place to go. a
There is
lounge
no
or somewhere.
place.
I know, but we need to make sure they have a place.
Any other questions or comments on the three that we reviewed? All right, we will see those again. Next item is approve resolution in support of Westside Elementary's PTAC playground project. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Ladies, would you like to talk for just a minute?
Good evening. I'm Melania Hare. I don't know many of you know me or not. I'm a local podiatrist here in Elizabethton. I've been here for 16 of my 17 years of practice. Love it. I'm not a local, unfortunately, but Virginia. I'm also the PTAC president of Westside Elementary School. This is my second year. It's been a learning process, and I'm still learning, but I enjoy every minute of it. I'm also, most importantly, a mother of 2 children at Westside Elementary School. I have a 2nd grader and a 4th grader. I'm here today just to ask for your approval of a playground project we are working on at Westside Elementary. Gina May and I have worked really hard at promoting healthy activities for our children. Our childhood obesity rate is outrageous right now. I'm sure you know some of the statistics, but as of more than 1/3 of the children and adolescents are overweight and obese. So we're pushing to start a Fit for Life health initiative where Mr. Wright has already begun with the morning mile at Westside. In the mornings, he's walking with the students. All of our activities that we are raising money promote activity. We do dances, we do inflatables, obstacle courses, walkathons. We're trying to promote health and activity for our children. Currently, our playground is outdated. Some of it's unsafe. The K through 2 playground is in a little better shape, but our 3rd through 5th playground needs some work. Our handicapped children, which I believe Westside houses all the medically handicapped children in the wheelchairs, etc., those children have nothing. We have a track they can ride around on. Our swings have been ruined and destroyed, so they're no longer available to the handicapped children. So we have nothing to offer our handicapped children other than to watch the other children's play. So we have pushed hard to start something to try to get us a new playground that is handicap accessible. Currently, we have less than 1 recreational facility for every 10,000 people in our county, and none are accessible to children with disabilities. as of right now. So we would have the first one. I believe the Chamber of Commerce is working on something right now, but unfortunately our students can't leave school to go play on it during school hours. So Westside would like to be the first one to offer the handicap accessible playground to not only our children but the community. We have, I think you had a picture included. Okay, Corcat, we spoke with Corcat, and I believe she gave you all the statistics. I'm not going to be redundant and waste your time, but the goal is to put in this playground. We may even look into making the entire thing handicap accessible if possible, planning to put it on the trackside field of Westside, as you can see. So we just are seeking approval to begin this project to allow us to raise the funds, whether it's grant writing or getting donations from local sponsors. We would like to put the playground in, purchase it, pay for installation, and then gift it to Westside. That is what we're requesting from you. Thank you for giving me your time.
It's the nicest request we've had in a long time.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely fantastic. And
Thank you.
one of the things I appreciate so much is how hard our PTACs work. I've spent many years in it, and I know that it's a labor of love, and you leave quite an impact on a school. So appreciate what you guys are really doing. That's a
Thank you very
fantastic
much.
thing for the community.
Thank you.
Having,
Have you seen the handicap accessible playground in Kingsport?
Yes. I wish we could get
Isn't
one
that something?
that big. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I believe it's Warrior State, correct?
Warrior State Park,
Yeah, we took a field trip for second grade just recently there, and I took some pictures.
That was
and-
all, that was all the community donations, they put that whole thing together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
we're
wonderful.
we're striving for big. We would like to go big and have a nice big playground for our school. And if we have extra funds, then we'll fix the other playground on the other side and make it just as accessible. So we're
Thank
going to work
goodness
hard
for
at
all
it.
of you. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
Thank you for your time.
And having met with these ladies, Westside, I was invited to a very nice reward lunch that they provided for Westside teachers, and they invited me, but we had some time during that to sit down and talk about fundraising and doing that type of thing, and I think that the people of this community will realize the opportunity that we have in doing this, and they will open their hearts to these children. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, item on the floor is to approve resolution in support of Westside Elementary PTAC Playground Project. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item is approve granting tenure to Andrew Bentley and Joe Diaz. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all over the place.
This was a happy situation. Both of these gentlemen work tirelessly in their given subject areas, and they have a lot of expertise and just generally good men for our children to follow. In both cases, dads and also just good citizens here in Elizabethton. But what I'll say, we had a situation for them that we changed over a few things at the state program, and it worked out in our favor, and we're just so happy to have both of them. So we appreciate you both, and we didn't necessarily miss them, just some circumstances changed. So we'll come on up here, we want to recognize you.
We need to vote first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go down here while you go.
Okay, so any questions or comments on this as they're coming forward? The item on the floor is approve granting tenure to Andrew Bentley and Joe Diaz. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, come up here and have a picture made. Thank-
Ugly.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Oh, this is ugly.
All right, last item is to approve appointment of 2 board members to serve as committee members on the Elizabethton Board of Education, Elizabethton Education Association Sick Leave Bank. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
What I would like to do is if anyone would like to do this, I'd like to open it up, to see if there's a couple people who'd like to volunteer.
I thought we already did this. Didn't we appoint?
Not for this. This is something you do about every 5 years.
Okay, I guess it was something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is when teachers can bank some sick days, and then if they need to use it, then they meet with the committee. And so I served on this several years ago. I met once. So it's not a horribly taxing thing, but if there's a couple people who would like to do that, I'd like to offer that up first of all, and then we'll go from there. So if anybody would like to do that, just let me know, and then if not, we'll...
For clarification for you, Ms. Peters,
What?
I said, just for a little bit of clarification, you are correct in remembering that we have done it in the past. We just haven't done it with this sitting board.
Okay, I see.
Since I have so much free time, I'll be happy.
Thank you, Tyler. Does anybody else want to do that?
Sure, I'll do that.
Fantastic. All right. Anybody else want to fight them for it?
Phil's just gonna take us out to dinner every
Yeah.
I just say thank you. Thank you.
Well, all right. Item on the floor is to approve appointment of Mr. Tyler Fleming and Ms. Susan Peters to serve as committee members on the Elizabethton Board of Education / Elizabethton Education Association Sick Leave Bank. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, and thank you both.
Could I, excuse me.
Yes.
Could I ask a question about, I read through all this policy on page 3.
I'm sorry.
Which policy?
It's the
Sick
sick
leave.
bank.
Okay.
All the material about the sick bank. I was confused as to if 9 applies, why do we need 12? It's on page 3. Physician statement verifying the cause of the illness, and then on 12, it says applicant may be required to undergo a medical review by a physician. But isn't that redundant?
It could be redundant, but if you look, it says shall in 9 and may and 12 and may. And it says may request a second opinion. And that's, I think, the issue is that if you feel like that they have a physician who
his
is
first name isn't
just signing notes and you're not sure that that's really applies, then you would allow them to.
Okay.
You may require them to do a second opinion. That's the way I read that. You aren't going to require a second opinion routinely, but you may do it if.
No, I think that's too much, requiring us, we have to trust our people to have the first opinion doctor rather than have a second opinion.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, that would be a lot of extra work and expense.
Yeah. That's what I think it's in there
Is
for.
this
them.
state language or is this our language?
I think Danny
This was
Smith
what
did this.
was adopted initially. This is what was adopted initially. That
Okay.
has not changed since it was approved.
And this is
1993.
also a volunteer program. Yeah, this is a volunteer
Yeah,
program.
this
I
isn't
mean,
a policy.
teachers either, like, they choose to participate or not, so,
Right.
yeah. Again, I met one time. It's not something that happens very often, so it's there for emergency. Anything else before we? One thing, I spoke with Randall Bennett. He is going to be having some surgery, so it looks like February is as soon as we could do our board retreat. So I would like some dates in February for a possible board retreat, and I told Mr. Bennett that I would contact him. So Tyler's super excited about Valentine's Day, so that's really great. So we'll avoid Valentine's Day. But otherwise, let me know if there's some time, and then I'll get with Mr. Bennett and pick a day.
How much time are you talking about? A day or a half day or?
At least a full day.
A
Because if he's
day,
coming all the
okay.
way up here, we want to.
Doesn't matter for me, just as
Okay.
long as I have notice.
Okay. So we'll let Dr. May look, and then I'll contact Mr. Bennett. And but yeah, he's looking forward to coming up. And if you haven't spent a lot of time with him, he's a fun guy. All right. So change. Ms. Peters noticed this. The next regularly scheduled board meeting will be Tuesday, December 15th at 6:30 here in the Mac Pierce boardroom. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
We're adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving.